This is my last recording in my Temptation Talk series, and I'm so sad to close it out with y'all, but I'm also really excited to give y'all a takeaway. So, the last episode is going to be my Get Unready With Me to counter my Get Ready With Me, and we're going to have so much fun. So right now, I'm going to brush my hair, put it in a bonnet, and we're going to get unready with me. So basically, I always start out with a recap, so let's recap this entire series. So first episode, obviously I talked about C.S. Lewis and just kind of like main themes in the book. Second episode, I talked about how the book relates to society. Last episode, I talked about how I felt like the book relates to me. The front of my hair is getting so uncurly, and I literally think it's just because I don't know how to sleep. Let me practice a hairstyle before I go to bed, because why not? But anyways, and so basically I talked about how I feel like I related to the patient in a way because of my relationship with my parents, and how I didn't feel like I ever grew up knowing who God truly was because I didn't have the correct image of him. Oh, that is hideous. The correct image of him, and I didn't know who he was growing up, and I'm sorry, this is really bothering me. And so I was distant, and I've been praying, and still now I struggle with it because it's like so ingrained in my life to I'm praying to a God that doesn't exist sometimes, because I'm praying to a God that's not merciful and does not care, and it's hard for me to remember that he does care about me and he does want me. Let's see, I did some pigtails. It did not eat as much as I wanted it to. I feel like I could make it eat. I have so much hair on my head, and it makes me so mad because it's too much. I'm gonna try to have a buff done, and then I'm going to actually try and go to bed. But anyways, I think it was really enlightening for me to talk through it, because when you let temptation sit in the dark, it never or temptations and struggles and sins sit in the dark, it's really hard for you to change your habits and change what you're doing because no one else knows that that's what you're doing. And it's also important to share it with people who actually care about your well-being and actually care if you are following God and not just living a vain experience, which I also think was a really prevalent theme when C.S. Lewis talked about how Screwtape was I'm really glad he made those friends that he made, because even though there's nothing real, they're not evil people, I would never say they were evil people, but they didn't really care about God or anything, and so he was now separating God from his other life and his own vain life. This is a half up, half down. I think it could be cute if I actually tried and looked cute, but I don't. But that's okay. I'm gonna try one more hairstyle. I'm sorry, this is right before bed hairstyles. Wait. This is getting cute 90s girl No? Okay. Anyways. Anyways, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. But basically, I forgot what I was supposed to be talking about in this episode. Oh yeah, my conclusion. I'm actually so sad. What do you mean? This is my last, I'm about to make my own real YouTube channel just so I can talk about things, because I think this is the most fun I've had in a long time. So basically so I'm gonna talk about like what C.S. Lewis kind of says about like the human race and like being human. I think that C.S. Lewis, like his whole I think if I could sum up how he feels about us through the book, I would say that he would say that we crave control and comfort and approval, which I think is really accurate, and I think that is going to be accurate till the end of time. I don't think there's a single person on this earth that I think doesn't struggle with any of those three things. Whether or not it's going to be being comfortable, being in control, and being approved of. Because, well, let's think. So, in my Bible study group, we do our primal questions. This is not cute. Sorry. Anyways, we do primal questions, and we did our Enneagram. So, if you don't know what a primal question is, it's just like, there's like multiple different questions about are like multiple different like inherent like questions that human beings ask themselves in relationships, in life. And I think that it's one, I really loved taking it because it made me enlightened in how I actually felt. And I think honestly those tests are accurate. Like people are like there's like things like zodiac signs and all that stuff, but like this isn't like that because it's like actually like a test. It's not just based on sun, moon, and planet. It's like based on questions that you answer. And so for my primal question I got, am I safe? And before I got, am I wanted? And I think some of the other options are, am I loved? Am I good enough? What is my purpose? And I think those are really good questions to ask ourselves because as humans, we all crave one thing, whether or not we know it or not. Anyways, this is how I got my silk press to last, but it's not working out for me too well. Anyways, we all crave one thing or another, whether or not we want to admit it or not, and be vulnerable. However, it's kind of also hard for us to identify what our problem is. And I really like those quizzes because it helps us see like, oh, this is my problem, and this is what I need from other people. So, and then Enneagram is like numbers, and so it goes based off like also another list of questions, but there's more questions on Enneagram. But I think it's better that way because I feel like it's more in depth, and I think it's also more accurate. Like I feel like if I took the primal question one, I probably can get 3 different primal questions in one sitting, versus the Enneagram one, I was really like, oh wow, that is just like, that is me. And I got the same one I think 3 times. So clearly it's pretty accurate. And so for that one, I'm a loyalist. And I think that, and so for both of them, they matched up pretty well. Because being a loyalist and being am I safe is like, when I'm a loyalist, like, that means that I tend to try and make other people feel safe. Because my basic need and basic fears is just like people not loving me in a way that like makes me feel safe and secure. Like I get scared of not having security in relationships, and so that makes it hard for me to leave other people. So that's for my inherent thing. My inherent need is approval, but I also overlap with not just approval but comfort, because I seek comforting people, and I even compromise myself in different situations because I seek comfort above basically all. So I seek the approval of others, and not because I necessarily want their approval, but because I want the comfort of being loved. And that also enlightens me on why I cannot let God in and let other people in, because it's like, well, I need someone to be there for me, and if I don't feel that immediately when I'm following God, and because I feel like, because it's really hard because you can't see God and you feel Him, but like when you're not that close to Him, you don't know what His presence feels like yet. So then it's just like, oh, I know of God, I know that God's good, but I don't feel Him yet, and that's really tripping me up because I feel so alone, and it just causes us to fall into sin that way. He talks about how, God gives us free will, and it still doesn't make any sense to me on why He did that, to be honest. I always think about it, and I never can come to a conclusion on why God would give us free will. And even I feel like even the book didn't really have a really good answer for that either, which is also valid. Who am I to question God's choices? I'm not complaining. I love my free will, but it's also hard because I'm well, I could be have an automatic path to heaven, I guess is what I would say, if I didn't have all these choices to make. But then I also realize I would be miserable being a part of some hive mind. And there's so many shows that also demonstrate why the need of free will. And honestly, I feel like I got in the need for free will from secular things, which I think is also awesome because I feel like that kind of relates to how C.S. Lewis understood Christianity better by studying secular things. I was that makes so much sense. For example, I watched this show called Arcane, and in Arcane we have, and the first season, I don't really know how we got to this plot line. I was really shocked. So basically we have this magic source called the Arcane, and so at first they use it to power a bunch of weapons to run a war against the Undercity of poor people, which kind of sounds bad when I say that. And basically, but usually at first it was used to power tech, and then they're no, we need to make weapons to defeat the people underneath because there's one single bad organization. And in the second season, we find out that the Arcane is some really big magic source, and it brings this person back to life. And he becomes the society's version of Jesus in a sense. So he goes around healing people, but as he heals people, he takes away their free will, and they go and follow him. And I was and so it created a peaceful society, but it was boring. There was no fun, there was no life, because they were all part of one hive mind. And even the person name was Victor went back in time to change the outcome to make sure he never became this godlike figure to make everyone perfect again, because he realized that he was sad and lonely and had nothing to do anymore because there was no one around. There was no people, there was no relationships, there was no love, there was no nothing, because they are all of one mind, which then makes sense on why we have free will. Without free will, there's no happiness, there's no there's no nothing, because we'd still have happiness, but it wouldn't be true, real happiness without being our own people. And I don't know, I think after I feel at first, before I talked this through, I didn't really understand the purpose of free will, and now I understand it more, which is another reason why it's so good to just talk through your faith and talk through with people. And I think that's another thing that demons know. They know that when you talk through things with people, it brings you away from them and towards God, and because it lets you make deep conversations and allows for connection and relationship and light. And they don't want that. They don't want light. They want us to be distracted and to not be, and to be in his clutches. And then another thing is, I think the power of awareness is important, because a lot of the things that these demons do is they try and tempt us in a way that we're not aware of how these decisions will affect us in the long run. And so then thus far we don't see what we're doing as bad, and it then in turn turns into something that ends up destroying us and destroying our relationship with God. That's what the demons want to do. They want us to not be aware in order to steamroll our relationship with Him, when in reality that is not good. That is bad. And I love how that's portrayed, because it's just like, oops, I probably shouldn't have stolen my stomach. I don't know if that's allowed. But I love how it's just like, how do I describe this? Like, this book made us aware. So it's kind of like funny how like he talks about like how the demons don't want us to be aware, and then the book is like what makes, I don't know, like it's just like, it's like kind of like, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's funny because it's kind of ironic. There we go, it's ironic, because like it's like the demons don't want you to be aware, but like listen to this, wink wink, wink wink, wink wink. Going back on the topic of free will, I forgot to talk about this, is how God gives us freedom, but then temptation twists this freedom and makes it bad. And that's why free will isn't good, because free will would be good if we knew how to use it for good. However, if we always are tempted and we are tempted to do things that are not good, then that's when free will becomes bad, and then temptations take over us, and we're no longer following in God's will and God's pattern. I think it's also just like crazy. I feel like I don't know if I talked about this already, but I don't know how I feel about the whole losing salvation part. I think I believe in it, but I feel like when you're further into your faith, you're not as likely to lose your salvation. So I think that C.S. Lewis talking about new Christian is really good, but then when he got like to like midlife crisis and stuff and all that stuff, I was like, I just feel like if you go from being like, I feel like when you're a Christian when you're a kid versus when like you become a Christian when you're an adult, it's a little bit different. So I feel like maybe that's how you lose your salvation. I feel like you were a Christian as a kid, and then you got older, and then go through like high school and stuff, and then you stop being a Christian because you go through all these life changes. But I feel like when you're like getting older and in like middle age, I feel like you're not really leaving Christianity, maybe. I feel like that's whenever you were more bound to stay in Christianity, because you have had that rock throughout your like adulthood, so you know that it works. Because I feel like a part of the reason why people leave the church from being a kid to being an adult is they think it's like basically childish fairy tales, and they're like, I don't believe that anymore. Like, I believe in like real stuff. I believe in science. I believe in this. When in reality, one, science literally proves the existence of God, but that's for another discussion. And two, it's like that isn't childish stuff. Like, that is what's supposed to be your life. And I just think it's really interesting how people don't feel that way. Anyways, I'm gonna wash my face. So we're gonna use the CeraVe Hydrating Facial Cleanser. I don't really know why I use this one right now. Well, actually, I do know why I use this one right now. I use this one right now because I ran out of my good one that's for actual acne-prone skin. So we're using this one until it runs out. But I also think that it's not working that well because I've been getting pimples all over my face. You can't see them right now because this camera is not good. But yeah, so I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to wash my face and then I'll be right back. Okay, hey guys. And so if I didn't show you on the first time, go get this Beauty Cream Daily Facial Moisturizer, hyaluronic acid and ceramides. It's for sensitive skin. I know acid sounds scary, but I promise promise you, I would never lie. I would never lie. This thing, holy grail of my skincare routine. I wouldn't have the skin I have today without it. And it's perfect. It's perfect to my eyes. There's only one moisturizer that even comes close to this, and it is quadruple the price. So I think I skipped my $10 Vanity cream. The other one is the Skin Fix. It's in a blue container. It looks like this, and you open it and you squeeze it, and it comes out like that. That is the only one I would even put slightly next to this. Every other moisturizer I've tried sucks. This one, holy grail. Vanity cream, sponsor me. Anyways, now we're done with that part. Let me go into my next thing we're going to talk about. So I feel like I already talked about this, but I'm still going to talk about it again. The book, timeless. I will talk about this till the end of time. The book is timeless. The book is timeless, and I think maybe the Lord spoke through him or something, because how do you write a book that I feel like is going to be used for all time? Like, maybe he probably pull stuff from the Bible, actually, to be honest, but like, it's just magnificent that like that book fits so well into how our world is today and how we are today. And I think that there is so much to learn and grow from, and I think C.S. Lewis really is one of the most intelligent people on this entire planet, and I wish I could be C.S. Lewis. Like, I wish I could be that intelligent. I'm sorry if I cannot see me. I wish I could be that intelligent. I wish I could be that smart. But I'm not. But it's okay. Humility, and if I pray to be that smart, maybe I'll be that smart. But I just think that I love the book. I think it was a great book to read. And like, I think, let me rate it. Usually when I finish a book, I go on Goodreads and I rate it. And I think I would give this book, I forgot if it's out of 5 or out of 10. I think it's 5 stars. So I think I would give it a 3.5, maybe 4. I think the reason why I'm not giving it 4.5, 5 is because I really think the book was good. One, it's just not really my style of book, and it has nothing to do with like Christian elements. Like, it's not because I didn't want to read a Christian book, because I read his other book, Mere Christianity, which I think I like this one better than Mere Christianity. I like this book better than Mere Christianity. However, I feel like I'm not a fan of one-sided novels. I don't know why. I just don't like not knowing what the other people think. It's probably in my nosy nature to want to know what they think. But it makes it hard for me to be like, oh yes, I want to read everything about this book. Like, no. Like, tell me how every other character thinks, because clearly I know they did not think like this. And then I wish it touched base more on the patient's mother. Like, I feel like she only premiered in for 2 and his old friends. Like, they never explained what happened to his old friends. They just, like, I don't even think they said he unfriended them. They were just like, the patient got new friends. And I was like, oh, why did we just drop off the old friends? Like, I feel like there's a lot of like plot holes and that's why I think having a one-sided like narration does at times. It creates a lot of like unanswered questions, and I'm like, well, I was invested and I want to know the answers to those questions. But that's okay. I don't need to know the answer to all the questions. That doesn't make it any worse of a book. It just means for my own personal thing, I was like devastated. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to know more about all of this. I think one takeaway I want one takeaway I want people to get from this series is that you are loved. And that sounds like, but like, I think that is one thing I got from the book. And it's like, that's just not what the book was about. It's about tempting people and being tempted. Or, yeah. And like how to not learn to be tempted. And I think, I don't know why, everything I've been like reading and stuff, I've just been getting the message, you are loved, you are loved, you are loved. And maybe that's just because I'm in my all grace, no like truth era or something. But I think that the parts of the book that stuck out to me the most weren't the ones condemning me. It was and obviously I still read them and I still took them in, but usually I feel like I'd be a little bit more offended when I was being condemned, because I'm a very, what's the word? Not confrontational. Very, I don't want to be condemned for stuff. So whatever that word is in the English dictionary, whatever that word is, that is how I feel. And so I feel like I was like, whenever I didn't feel that way, I was a little shocked. I was like, oh. I just felt like, it felt like God was trying to pull me to realize, I did not put this up from this morning, for my get ready with me. Sorry. I felt like God was trying to tell me that like, he wants me with him, and that I'm not the only one who struggles with temptations like this, and that it is okay to struggle, but he'd rather me struggle with him than struggle without him. And I think that was one of the things that like really stuck out to me in the book, was whenever Screwtape was telling Wormwood how like God wants us to struggle with him and go through things with him, and he was like, he would rather them come to him than not come to him at all and live in this sin. And I think that's what's hard, is because I'm like, oh, I keep messing up, I keep doing these things I said I wasn't gonna do, and it's not like I'm attempting to misuse grace. And that's whenever I feel like also people misuse grace, it's because they're not actually communicating with God. Because I feel like when they're actually like in with God and like actually trying to build like a real relationship with him, it makes you not want to abuse grace, because then it's like, I'm hurting someone, or I guess God's not someone. He's not a thing either. I'm hurting God for my own personal like short time fake pleasures or abusive pleasures that God gave us. And so it's just like, I don't really know how else to say it, but that's kind of what I want everyone who's watching my series to take away from the book, is that you are loved. And if you read the book, don't think about it as, oh my gosh, I'm doing all these things wrong. Think, oh my god, you scared the crap out of me.
I was just like, interview you recording.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, don't think about it as like God's trying to tell you all these things you're doing wrong. Like, he's trying to tell you that he loves you, he wants you, and he's fighting for you. And he is battling the demons that are trying to tempt you. And if you just focus your mind on him and put your mind towards him and not put your mind towards other things, and not let yourself be distracted and not let yourself not feel his love and his presence, and that's when you're gonna find him. And that's when you'll be like, oh, I've been struggling through all these temptations by myself while God was trying to get me to draw near to him. But anyways, this is my last video. Like, why do I want to cry? I'm so sad. This is my last video. It was really fun to ride with y'all, and I hope you really enjoyed my series of Temptation Talks. Have a great rest of your lives. Bye.